Let's hello and welcome to Koicast, a podcast where myself, Coy Jandro, a Bostonian who loves pop culture, comic books, and people, discusses all the runnings, the gunnings, the goings, the funnings of things happening in the world of pop culture with the great, the one and only, the very patient, especially this week, Jake Lloyd Bacon.
I'm glad that you told them I'm patient because
right at the top.
I do feel like, listen, a trailer has just come out, a very prevalent trailer for a giant pop culture comic book thing that is occurring, and I can't help but feel like the crotchety old man in the bar, frustrated at the bona fide psychotic fucking madman. If I did take a screen grab at some point, I will post it with your permission.
Oh, please.
If I told Coy right before we started recording, if hell is specific, where if like everybody's hell is their own very specific thing for them, mine has just occurred. It's watching Coy attempt to set up for a podcast after having a long day and getting postponed and being kind of flustered. He's got a lot of stuff going on. I'm not going to take away the fact that you're a busy guy, but also simultaneously, it's the same thing.
My God.
It's the same thing for 6 months now, so it shouldn't be that fucking hard. He literally, I'm still staring at it right now, and I'm going to take another screen grab of it right now. His mic cable is wrapped around his mic stand like the way your earbuds used to get wound up in your pockets before they figured out the material that made it so they didn't get into a big knot. It took him 40 minutes to even just get seated because he forgot an SD card. Mic clip is loose. It's everywhere.
The problem is and dear viewers, if you listen to the show, you probably are aware of one of the two of us. And my thing is, Jake is very good at being two things: professional and tech savvy. There are two things I'm very bad at: being professional and being tech savvy. And what I'm trying to do lately is grow my own channels, and those two things that have been at odds with me for years, they've been able to be like, oh, that's like, a C tier problem. When you're running your own everything, it becomes an A tier problem. Like, I am not going to brag in this moment because I've been an ass all day, but I'm very good at commentary, and I'm very good at being quick on my feet. But if you're not good at being tech savvy, it doesn't matter how quick on your feet you are or how well spoken you are, because none of it works without audio. And I'm trying to run a YouTube page, and just the technology is so far beyond me. And when I turned the thing on today, Jake's like, grandparents are using that. And I was like, I'm at least 2 generations behind. I'm like a boomer when it comes to YouTube, and I am known for my YouTube.
You've been bestowed the gift of gab in abundance. Okay, in abundance. I'll say you've got the gift. You got more so than many other people. So much so that the other side of it is just an absolute void. There's just nothing happening. And I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue because I know that this is a part that's not even that you're probably not aware of. But ever since the great didn't have his mic plugged in debacle of 2.5 months ago, I record your end now through our Zoom. And your earbud mic that we have as the backup has been rubbing up against the collar of your shirt this entire time so far.
Let's hope this works.
So I'm going to need you to either go up one with that button or make it real sexy and come down a little lower.
Let me see if this helps. Let me go.
This is why we need to turn this into we need to add a video element to this program.
Because at this point, this first 5 minutes is just a comedy of errors, and the last 2 hours of mine have been a comedy of errors.
Anyways,
Deadpool and Wolverine is the trailer.
We did it. We did it, everybody. There was things in the trailer, and people were stabbed.
I want to, now that we've segued deeply, I do want to talk about the trailer, and I do feel like we are in a really unique position with this trailer where I only got vibes and very little story, and I feel like we haven't had a second trailer like this in a while. Usually trailer 2s are like, would you like the movie or at least the first 2 acts, and would you like to just fill in the rest? By the time you get to trailer 2, there's usually a lot more out, but I really think this being delayed gave us a gift, because I think if we'd gotten this movie when it was supposed to come out, they might have been more under pressure. And I think Ryan running the marketing is a really good sign that this might stay this way.
I have a counterpoint to that. I think we did get a lot more information, but it's information that, while not confirmed previously, was already speculated upon, right? So we don't think it's new information. Because
but for like Ted and Idaho, he's like, what?
Yeah, because we've just been assuming, oh, they're doing this book, they're doing this, they're doing, you know what I mean? Like, we're putting all of this other shit on it before we ever even got the movie. And now it's like, hey, all that stuff we thought about we're getting, it looks like we're getting some of that. And so I actually think it did give a lot. I think it confirmed that, like, you know, it confirmed what universes we are pulling from. I think it confirmed a reality of that this Logan, that this Wolverine is from. We saw a shot or two of some iconic comic book imagery that made us go, okay, we're pulling from that story. We're pulling from that. I thought we got quite a bit from this.
But it didn't. That and I like those points because that's a fair point. I think it also confirmed that Wolverine isn't the one from the Fox movies that we've known. And I think I've assumed that from the beginning, but I think that's pretty revelatory. And that's not fair to have my assumptions being confirmed to be like not a spoiler, because that's you're right. Like it is just like,
exactly.
Oh, good, correct. But that doesn't mean that's a good point. So it is a decently revealing trailer, but I stand by the first two acts element. I don't think we've seen a lot of the third act, which I
100%.
Like. I also really like that the villain is like teased. Like, I don't even think if you didn't know who Cassandra Nova was, you'd assume she was the villain, which I love.
No, in fact, it almost made it seem like she's a hero of the group. Like, she's like, you know,
very cheeky. Like, look at these boys.
Yeah, no, it made it seem like, yeah, I don't think it's presented that way at all. You're right.
And I also think the third act problem you and I went through, I think especially with as DC was kind of deciding to just throw spaghetti at the wall, I feel like they were maybe the worst since Age of Ultron, where it was like, what if we show you the movie as structured in order?
Well, that's because they really needed people to come. And they, you know, like,
and they were like, what if we just show you?
Right.
But I think this one did the opposite, where I think there were, because of Ryan's miming ability and the dubbing, like even lines in the trailer won't be in the movie. There was a couple times where like their dialogue between the two of them, I was like, I think that's ADR, and I was really excited about it. So the beauty of Ryan Reynolds having his own marketing firm because of Deadpool 1 is I'm hoping going forward we get more things like the chimichanga ad in the first one and all the Valentine's Day ads and the things that are like, okay, you've seen the basis of the movie. Now let's just show Ryan and Hugh like being ridiculous. Like let's just make another movie like Anchorman 2.5 where I can have a whole marketing experience.
Yeah.
And this trailer gave me a lot of the bones that I think they can make alts off of. I also, and we'll talk about Cinemacon next, but I was also really lucky to go to Cinemacon and they showed 9 minutes of the movie. And I was really afraid when they announced this trailer yesterday that I was going to wake up early to watch a small version of what I'd seen at Cinemacon and be kind of disappointed. There's about 12 to 15 seconds of Cinemacon footage in this. Everything we saw at Cinemacon is almost completely separate.
Right.
So there's just so much footage, and I still don't feel like I can put the movie together, and that makes me happy.
Yeah, it's fun. And like, you know, at the end of the day, I haven't had a lack of confidence at all throughout this entire series with Ryan Reynolds involved. There's never been a point where it's unlike, you know, other certain maybe MCU sub franchises, or like there's never been a point where I've been let down. And so we have no reason to not expect this to just be everything we want and so much more. It's going to be something that we couldn't imagine and everything we wanted simultaneously.
Yeah. And honestly, I think that it is, I mean, Marvel fatigue is there, but this is different enough because of its tone and its rating, and it still gave me that, oh my God, a new Marvel trailer feeling.
Right.
And yeah. Oh, Fox.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's what I meant. Yeah. It's like, so it has that, and the one little, you know, Feige joke in there. It's like, okay, that's a fun little acknowledgement. They gave us one of the bits, which is great, because it's like, all right, like there's that fourth wall we're gonna talk about. He's, you know, he does it a couple times in the trailer, which is like, hey, this is still the shit that you remember, but we're folding. We're all just folding now.
I'm so excited. I haven't been this excited for a movie in quite a bit. Like I mean, hence the chaos of today. But I would not be willing to do this many hoops. And I think that's a huge reason why I went to Cinemacon. And you'll appreciate Cinemacon was insane. I want to break it down as you being a con lover, but I will say the Disney panel was far and away the longest and biggest at 3 hours of basically us seeing what Disney's doing the rest of the year. But it opened with a PSA a la the Alamo Drafthouse, and it was literally the first time I'd seen Wolverine in motion in the yellow and blue suit.
Right.
And I was so afraid when I realized what it was that it would undermine like 25 years of oh my God. And then it was a silence your phones PSA that was maybe my favorite bit of marketing I've ever experienced in my life. And if we get that in front of every movie, I'm just going to go see movies for this PSA.
It should play before at least Deadpool, a minimum.
At minimum.
Right, yeah.
Because it is pure cinema, and it felt like when you read a comic and the like watcher talks to you, but Wolverine and Deadpool and R-rated. It is. Oh,
I wonder if it's online. Do you know if they like the company put it online? I'm sure some dick.
No, most of
filmed it,
Cinemacon they didn't put online, and I haven't been able to find it. So I'm hoping it just debuts like the week leading up. Like, what better marketing than having like a Maria Menounos Nuvi ad, but it's Wolverine and Deadpool, like to remind you it's coming out.
Right, but it's got to be. I do think that it's got to be after the.
After Nicole.
Thank you. Yes. I was like, what would you call like the ad for the theater? But yeah, no, then I forgot after that
4 movies.
After that, Nicole comes up. Yeah, exactly. Because people will still
check out. I also think it'd
out.
be really cheeky if there's a, oh yeah, they've got to wake back up and realize, and it'd be fun if there's a little like Australian to Australian nod. Oh yeah. Also, did you catch that? The Mad Max shot in the trailer?
I don't know. Maybe I don't think so. No.
It was really quick. It's like a 3 or 4 frames. There's a shot of like the Doof Warrior and the big.
Oh yes, no, I did catch it. I'm sorry. Yeah. Of him as like a fucking what are they called? What boys? What are they called? Mad Max? The something boys?
Yeah, what are those guys called?
It's something boys.
What are they called?
It's something boys.
Those
right?
guys. Yeah, it is something boys. Yeah, the Witness Me guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm hoping that's a nice Australia joke for Hugh's sake, and we get some of that cheekiness throughout too.
Totally.
The last thing I want to say about the trailer before I get into Cinemacon was I do think that if you're not in the industry, then this was probably one of the greatest experiences of being a comic fan, because Deadpool and Wolverine gives you that like, oh my God, that's exciting. And then they very cleverly gave you just that shadow at the end of the first trailer. Seeing them together, I can't even imagine if this was in the 90s and this was like in front of a VHS. I so wish sometimes to just regress 30 years in exposure to art and just, I can't fathom how cool this would have been not knowing as much as we are unfortunately inundated with and just seeing this happen. Like what a gift for people that aren't plugged in. But it's also, you know, we talk about, oh man, imagine going back and this is what we had. We needed to go through everything we did to get here, right? We had to become the people we were in order to achieve this. That's true. And this, more than most movies, is like the product of such a butterfly effect. Like the idea that Kevin Feige was the one that made sure Hugh Jackman's hair was Wolverine accurate, and now that's what's folding it. Like there's so many things that are one of one. Like Sean Levy directed Real Steel, which I didn't realize was the first movie Hugh Jackman agreed to do after X-Men Origins Wolverine bombed. So his I need to fix my career movie is the director that brought him back into the MCU. Like there's so many things that are like, this was written in a
personal
lab.
Connections. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
Like without Sean Levy working with Ryan Reynolds on that Mark Ruffalo movie 2 years ago, he probably wouldn't have been the director. And without him being the director, who knows if Hugh would have come back. And if the multiverse hadn't been the storyline Marvel was going with, who knows if that would have been pliable for Hugh to come back as a different Wolverine and not sacrifice Logan's ending.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like this movie, I'm Charlie Day. I'm fully like yarn is everywhere. I'm like way too excited.
Listen, it's cliche. I just said it earlier, like the stars all aligned in the right exact position for this thing to occur.
The first $1 billion movie of the year, July 26th. There's no doubt in my mind after this trailer, this is going to clear $1 billion. The first one made $840. The next one made $890. The first one was the highest R-rated movie of all time when it came out, and then it was only beaten by itself in Deadpool 2. Right. And then Joker beat it. So I think Deadpool 3 hopefully dethrones Joker because,
please.
You know, I like Joker more than you do, but I do think that as far as it's not $1 billion film.
And also fuck Todd Phillips.
He, you know, I know your hate of him, and I respect why. But his comments about theater, like his exhibition industry love at Cinemacon was really special. He came out and he gave such a heartfelt, hey guys, in 2019, you are the reason my movie made $1 billion. You guys stood by me. There was a lot of controversy around my film. You're the reason this happened. And I didn't get to come back and thank you because, well, 2020 was a weird year. And he just had this like, the only time I've seen him humble was in front of the people that are the reason he's the man he is in his career. And it was really beautiful. It doesn't forgive, statements or actions or any of those things, but it was really wonderful to see a man humble himself.
Only because there's no movie theater workers union. That's why.
And because we weren't allowed to film it. So he was like, I'll be humble now. But yeah, Cinemacon is your exact shit, man. Cinemacon is everything we love about Comic-Cons, but I was shocked. It is the floor, instead of being comics and art and Artist Alley, was literally popcorn vendors, candy vendors, seat makers. It was, and I've never seen pictures of it. Like, somehow in all my years loving movies, I didn't know there was a Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory floor for just the movie theater.
Right.
So I knew posters and standees, but you touch the floor and it's like, hey, you know that seasoning you love? There's 30 different types of people that make it. Do you want to try each one? And I was like, this is magic.
Yeah.
It was Comic-Con meets Costco.
Right. And I feel like it's kind of like I was telling you, I feel like it does seem like NAMM for movies, like what NAMM is for the music industry, that where it's like, yeah, this is a big promotional event, but it's also an industry. And I don't mean the filmmaking industry, but it's almost like a theater industry, the technological side of it. Like, it's very much like a trade show.
Yeah. And it felt like, it didn't feel like too, let's bring out celebrities like post-Twilight Comic-Con, but celebrities were there. Right. And it was really interesting to be like, oh, there's Robert Pattinson, but it doesn't feel exactly like Twilight. It felt like, I'm a guy that has a career because of you guys. I want to thank you. Also, I know me being here helps you.
Right.
It felt more like an Ouroboros of like, we respect each other, not like, I'm important. And I was like really impressed by that. Right. I really liked that it didn't elevate and denigrate certain people, because they had presentations for like theater owners that had the second oldest drive-in, or a guy that reopened his mom and pop theater. It's been 120 years, 5 generations of family. Like, those presentations felt as big as, the moment they showed 35 minutes of Inside Out with Amy Poehler coming out. That felt just as important as like, we should really care about how the lights are, dimmed at the first 5 minutes. Like, that was so cool.
Right.
Which I never see in Hollywood. Right. Like, living here, we don't see people caring about how the sausage is made. They just want to know how many calories are in the sausage, which ones are keto. And that's not healthy.
Wait, hang on.
Like,
did you say keto?
Is it keto?
Yeah, it's keto. As in,
sure?
Oh,
keto. I mean, ketogenic, but I thought when you shortened it, it became like, because keto, oh, you're right. There's no reason to be keto. There's actually none.
Keto. Because it's
keto.
Because you want to be in ketosis.
A state of ketosis.
It's not ketosis. Is it ketosis? No, ketosis. I don't know.
It's not a tomato thing.
No,
I think I'm just wrong.
You're right. But it's definitely keto.
The shirt.
It's definitely keto.
But yeah, so Cinemacon, incredible. Deadpool Wolverine, incredible. But I've talked enough. I hear hella hotline calls.
We do.
We want to get to our co-hosts.
Let's get to our co-hosts. So many hotline calls. Coy, what's the number of the hotline in case people want to call?
818-794-0722.
He did it, you guys.
Let the record show my hands are up in the camera.
He did it.
And that was actually in my head.
Like I was holding a gun to his head.
Hey, Coycast, Jake and Coy. This is Joseph Wood, Joey, from Cincinnati, Ohio, and I'm a first-time caller. And I just wanted to give a shout-out to Coy. Coy, you've been my inspiration to get into comics more, because I want more of the Marvel Universe, DC Universe. I want more than what the movies give me, and comic books is where it's at. And I just recently started reading comic books again, and jumped into like Spider-Man, Secret Wars, and then Spider-Man and all this other stuff. And now with X-Men 97 out, I'm starting to go to my local comic book store. Shout out Up and Away Comics in Cincinnati, Ohio. And getting on weekly of the Ultimate Universe, the new Ultimate Universe, loving that. And then I wanted to read From the Ashes, this new comic book X-Men arc that's coming out, because your YouTube video is great, by the way, told me that this is a good jumping on point. And then you started talking about Krakoa, and I got the Marvel Unlimited app because it's just easier for me. and I started reading the House of X and Powers of X right now, and I just wanted to know, I know that Krakoa is long and has a lot of art, a lot of content to it. Is there anything from the Krakoa, do I have to read all of it, or is there some things that I can, like, get? I heard you weren't a huge fan of it, but, like, I'm reading House of X, Power of X, and it's really good. So, like, is there anything, like, that I could maybe not skip, but highlights, good highlights that I can get into and get freshed up before this new From the Ashes comes out? Thanks so much. Sorry for the long-winded message, but I'm really excited. Love your guys' podcast, and I'm loving comic books. Thank you. X-Men 997 rules, by the way. It's amazing. Thank you. Have a good day.
Joey from Ohio, first-time caller. You never have to apologize for being long-winded, unless, of course, your name is Gilbert Short. Then you always have to apologize. But thank you so much for the call. First-time caller. So looking for some, I guess, Krakoa highlights, I guess, sort of.
First of all, adore this message top to bottom because it shows you are dedicated and also you being so careful to not say skipping comic. You were like, there's a lot going on. I get it, man. I am uniquely in a position to read too many comics, but not everyone should be subjected to as many as I read because that's part of the reason I read as many as I do, to tell people, like, hey, these the best ones. Because if you get intimidated and you fall off, then the good ones go unread. So by all means, highlights. I respect that perspective. House of X and Powers of 10 are two of the best of the Krakoa stuff. My issue with Krakoa wasn't that it was bad. It was that Hickman, the writer, introduced the idea and had a 3-act structure that he was planning to follow. And then the first act did too well. And then he left Marvel because they weren't letting him get into his second act. And then the pacing became, let's live in this first act forever. And then now I love where it's ending, but I really wish that if they'd done it as a 3-act structure, I could see how it'd be one of the all-time greats, and instead it's just very good. It's a movie where the second act goes so long, you're like, okay, we're in the third act, I'm excited again, but I've been here for years.
Right.
So it's not bad, it's just, well, you might not ever experience that because you're reading it in, like, speed run. Like, you can not read it over months like I did. So House of X, Powers, and 10 are musts. I would stick to the main continuity of, your Uncanny. Stick to the titles of things you've heard about. My issue became Excalibur came in, and then I just wasn't as interested in the medieval stuff. And then that made me less interested in the Uncanny stuff, which made me less interested in the overall arc. So the thing about X-Men is there's certain types of characters. If you're more drawn to Captain Britain and the things over in that world, do that. By all means, dive in. But don't try to read all of it because then it'll feel like it's too heavy. So I'd read the first or second issue on Marvel Unlimited of each of the things, but let a title go and you might get a better experience out of it. So my recommendation is be more free with yourself to say, not for me, and then keep reading the mainstream stuff, like the main core title. I hope that helps. But I love you're getting into comics, man. Thank you for watching the YouTube. Shameless plug, I've been plugging Koicast everywhere more, but I also have been trying to work on my own personal YouTube, and the thing that I find a lot of people don't really seek out on YouTube pages that I visit, like the New Rockstars and Real Rejects, is the actual comics, because I don't have graphics to go along with the comics I'm suggesting. What I've been doing on my page is the 70 books I'm reading, I am listing each and every one of those on Patreon, but I'm just doing a top 9 books of the week with graphics for everybody that you can see on YouTube for free and just go like, oh, when I go to the store, that book sounds good. Here's the cover. You can look for it. It ties into the whole thing. So if you're wanting to get into comics or if you're wanting to get deeper into comics, check out my YouTube because I'm really trying to make it a visual medium for like, oh, I'm at a comic store and this is overwhelming. And I hope that helps answer all those questions.
The last thing he mentioned was that X-Men 97 is fantastic. It is fantastic at this point of recording. It seems like that's our season, right? It was only 6.
No, dude. We're only halfway.
Oh, wait, there's 12?
It's a 10.
Oh, it was a 10. Oh, gotcha. Okay. I don't know why my brain was like, oh, this was, you know what? I watched so much British.
That's it?
I watched so much British shit. I'm so used to 6-episode seasons. I'm like, that must have been it.
Also, Marvel had been 6.
It felt like a setup for whatever is next, but I guess that's just, the show is fucking crushing it. It is setting up so many great things. It is, it's just so good. Every episode seems to be somehow better than the last.
Yeah.
And the most recent one at time of recording was just absolute fucking aces.
Are you watching it night of?
No, like, within the first couple days. Yeah.
Okay, so you're getting the rush of everyone being excited, but you're not like beholden to.
I mean, yeah, the reality was that the second to last episode at the time of recording was the big oh fuck episode. And I saw everybody with the oh fuck attitude. So then I was like, all right, I need to start watching these quicker at time of release because I don't want spoilers, you know what I mean? But I'm not watching it night of.
Yeah.
I'm watching it within 24 to 48, let's say.
Okay. So you're getting the rush, but you're not like, this is homework.
Yes, 100%. And I look forward.
Okay.
I look forward to every episode. They're all fantastic.
Yes. All right. Let's check on our next caller. Thank you so much for that first time call.
Yes. Hello, Corey, producer Jake. This is Jared from Louisiana. Calling in reference to a question I have about comics and comic-related media. So, with the success of X-Men 97 as a continuation of the series from the 90s, I'm curious, what other animated program from then, whether it be Justice League Unlimited, Static Shock, Batman the Animated Series, what have you, would you like to see continue today in a similar fashion to the way X-Men 97 did with the X-Men series? Obviously, in the comics, Coy, you would know better than any, that Batman the Animated Series had a continuation via the comics. So, things of that nature. I'm just curious, so whoever would like to answer, what series would you like to see continued today that kind of ended then? Have a nice day. Stay sweaty.
Jared from Louisiana. This one's tough because I feel like everything continued or came back or got a reboot, right? Especially because he was obviously
like Batman became Batman Beyond, which is like the go-to for me anyway.
And all his stuff he acknowledged was all comic book things, which like they all at some point the nostalgia kicks in and they go, oh, we're gonna do this,
bring that back in the comics, or
exactly. Yep. So this is a tough one.
So it's kind of a snake eating its tail with nostalgia, which is, I think, really interesting. And that's one of the things I really like about Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse is it acknowledges nostalgia, but it builds a new story off it. And that's something I've gotten to talk to Lord and Miller a little bit more often this year, and they talk about how toxic nostalgia is. And I love nostalgia. So it's been really interesting giving a little distance to that, because I think nostalgia is really wonderful, but it can be detrimental to art. And I've never considered how detrimental until I was like, wait a second, what's new and what's old? It's all one thing. And I think Spider-Verse is a great example to the antidote of that. I think as dangerous as it would be, all of that being the disclaimer, man, I'd love to have Spider-Man come back. One, because it is a lot of people's introduction to the show, to the character, but also it ended on a cliffhanger. Like, what happened to Mary Jane? She was falling. She's been falling for 20 years. Like, I just want that show to get closure like I feel like X-Men is getting. And I also feel like that Spider-Man show allows for certain takes on the character that Marvel won't do because of Sony and vice versa. So it's uniquely positioned to be kind of trapped like X-Men was. Right. And I think that makes me want to go like, well, then let's fix it like X-Men did. So it feels like kind of a cop-out, but I think X-Men and Spider-Man are not only crossover shows to each other, but uniquely in need of the same closure.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I struggled to find an answer.
And gargoyles.
I was just gonna say gargoyles is the first thing on the line, but didn't they try to reboot that not that long ago, or was that like a thing that they were talking about and never did?
Yeah, but I'd go with the old team and like so they brought back that continuity in the comic books with Greg Weisman, the original writer. So technically yes, but even if they adapt the comics, I just want to see that gargoyles. I haven't looked into it deeply, but apparently O.J. Simpson is the reason Gargoyles went off the air, and that is that one. The juice is no longer loose. He's in the ground, but he did this, and now that he's dead, bring back Gargoyles.
And Street Sharks.
Hey, Coy. Hey, Jake. This is Gilbert up in the Bay Area, and I had a question for you about things that trigger nostalgia. Jake, you inspired this talking about watching Indiana Jones on the Patron Only Pod, which, as an aside, is one of my favorite things, and I hope that anyone who's considering becoming a patron gives it a shot for those, because it's my favorite thing to listen to. I look forward to them every week. It's just great to hear them enjoying art and reveling in the idea of art, and it's wonderful to listen to. But regardless, so it made me think about a movie that I was obsessed with seeing when I was a kid, but I never saw it because, as far as I know, it was never released around here, even though it was played before one of the biggest movies for kids I've ever seen. But the movie was called Step Kids, and I never saw it, so I decided to watch the trailer again, and I still felt like I had to see it. I remember the trailer almost word for word, even if I hadn't seen it in almost 30 years. So I looked for it. I found it like a used copy on Amazon. It was a little hard to find. But I did find it. I watched it, and it was actually a really good movie. They changed it to probably the worst movie title I've ever seen. And Jake, since I know you like Googling things, I will let you Google that, and you can tell the class what it is. It's pretty laughably bad. My fiance said that it was pretty sexist, just based on the title, and she's not wrong. She's correct, absolutely correct. And so I'll just let you look that up. But I was wondering if there are any other things that you got that trigger your nostalgia, anything that brings those good feelings of just simpler times, like Indiana Jones, or for me, Step Kids, that has a really awful real name. And I hope you guys have a good week. But before I go, I wanted to tell Coy that I know that you're a Welcome to Wrexham fan, and I know this might be tricky, but in July, the night before Comic-Con, they're going to be playing in Santa Clara against Chelsea. So I thought that you might want to know if you wanted to go. I'll be there with my fiance, who should be my wife by then. We're getting married in 2 weeks, so that's something I'm really looking forward to. But oh my God, this is 3 minutes long. I'm really sorry, Jake. Please don't yell at me. You guys have a good week. Bye.
Jesus Christ, leave a longer message, Gil. Holy shit, just goes on and on and on and on. Dude's getting married in 2 weeks, though? What the fuck, Gil? Congrats.
Apparently he's got plenty of time. Apparently that is not weighing on him whatsoever. Those 5 different chapters of voicemail later. No, dude, congratulations. That's amazing. I'm so happy for you.
I'm glad he apologized, because like I said, he's the only one who needs to apologize. Okay, so there's a lot here, obviously. So he was talking about nostalgia, and he said that one of the things that brought him so much nostalgia was this trailer for a movie called Step Kids. And the name that it was changed to, because I did Google it, because he's right, I do love Googling. They changed it to Big Girls Don't Cry, ... They Get Even. That's the name of the movie.
Wow.
I've never heard...
It doesn't not feel problematic.
I've never heard of this. But the trailer apparently was at the beginning of a popular VHS tape when he was young. And I find this humorous to me, because the second he said to me, what's something that provides you nostalgia? Oh, wait, hang on. You know what? We're going to do this. I'm Googling even further here. The second he said to me, something that provides you nostalgia, the first thing that came to mind was also something at the beginning of a connected VHS tape to his. Okay, wait a minute. Here we go.
Oh.
Hang on. I had this set up, so you should be able to hear this. Will the listeners hear it? Yeah, the listeners will hear it. Okay, wait. Here we go. He said he knew all the words to the trailer. That was at the beginning of his VHS tape. Let's see if I know all the words to my commercial that was at the beginning of my VHS tape. This brings me more joy and nostalgia than anything in the world. Hang on. Oh, there we go. Can you hear that, Clay?
Yeah.
Oh, shit, kids. Off in the distance, the game's dragging on. There's strikes on the batter, some runners are on. Then suddenly everyone's looking at me. My mind has been wondering, what could it be? They point to the sky and I look up above, and a baseball falls into my glove. Everybody, I play right field. It's important, you know. You gotta know how to catch. You gotta know how to throw. That's why I play in right field, way out where the dandelions grow.
As a proud sponsor of Little League Baseball, Pizza Hut welcomes all
Yeah,
the kids.
Pizza Hut. I will never forget this Pizza Hut commercial that played before Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the VHS tape that I played to the point where it was ruined. It's so funny to me because I looked it up and the trailer for the movie he's talking about played at the beginning of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 on VHS tape.
Wow. I can safely say I've never heard that in my life.
What is wrong with you? The show's over, everybody.
I just went through
Goodbye,
a
everybody.
whole experience where I was like, this feels important to so many people.
What is happening right now?
And yet.
I remembered every word.
You did. I was very impressed and confused.
The best part there is that you gotta know how to catch. You gotta know how to throw. I like how he like puts a little stink on it, like he's like a little Billy Joel, maybe. Well, there you go. You asked, I delivered. Nothing gives me more nostalgia than the Pizza Hut commercial before Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Nostalgia.
And it's way better than the trailer for your shitty Stepkids movie. And I hope that everybody listening along, I hope everybody sang along, and they were brought joy of their late 80s, early 90s childhoods.
I hope as many people know it as you assumed.
Oh,
that's what I.
Oh, screw you, Koi, you baby. Screw you, child. I'm going to go so far as to say there's not a listener like 37 and older that doesn't know that just as well as I did verbatim.
I'm trying to think of what gives me nostalgia. Certain like flavors like caramel apples, like certain things that I don't eat as much as an adult. Like I feel like I ate like caramel apples more as a kid, pumpkin pie, pecan pie, like things that are like seasonal because like you don't eat them all year, so it doesn't become regular, but then you tie it into like childhood celebrations for me anyway. Like I think of like Thanksgiving when I was a kid when I had pecan pie. Even though I have it as an adult, it's still not common enough. So flavors and smells, I know smell is the thing closest tied to memory, but for me flavors too. Certain songs, like especially lately as I reach and oh my god, my music is on the oldies channel age. I keep like TikTok brings a lot of old stuff back, and every so often I'll hear a song that I listen to regularly, but it'll be in the context of nostalgia, and then all of a sudden it'll be like, whoa, that is 30 years old, and it'll affect things differently. Like recently, a Bush song, Glycerin did that to me in a real way. Glycerin is a banger. I listen to it all the time, but I usually listen to it on like whatever track it is on the album, because I'm an album listener. I listen to the whole thing. So when Just Glycerin comes on, it's like watching the CW in the 2000s. It's like a montage of like dreamy imagery of my childhood. What else? The old logos for movie studios, like get me like crazy. Yeah, so like the old TriStar
opening,
logo.
Yeah, like the title cards before a movie. Yeah, for me,
like New Line.
New Line and Touchstone for some reason. That one always
Touchstone huge.
Yeah, that one gets me a lot too, for sure.
The HBO static, I immediately go to my Entourage era. Like when I first moved to LA, when I hear HBO static, I'm that guy. All of HBO's content ever.
Nope.
Entourage.
But for me, whenever I hear the fuzz, all I think of is well, actually, that's true. I do have two things. I always hear Jeffrey Tambor doing the opening bit to the Larry Sanders Show, where he's the warm-up guy, or I now hear which, by the way, if you haven't watched final season of Curb, the finale might be one of the greatest comedy finales of all time. I fucking love that show.
The finale's out? I'm too behind.
The show is over. The show is over, and I'm sad and thrilled that it exists, that it's existed for so long, and the finale is one of my favorite episodes of television. And I will say the finale is, it's almost like the accumulation, because the show's been on for 25 years, but it's almost like the accumulation of 35 to 40 years worth of work. I'll just say that.
That is an interesting, like, I'm curious how that ties in, because now it sounds like it inevitably does.
Anyways.
I will probably make that my evening.
All right. Well, there you go. Gil, congrats on your upcoming nuptials. I hope you and your fiance.
I'm really, really stoked for you. And that thing you also said in the message that might have run too long to keep in there. If I can find a way, I will be there. How? I don't know yet, but TBD.
Don't. He'll break that promise. He'll break your heart. Don't listen to him. Good.
I love that if people don't hear it, it'll sound
No, I'll
so
keep it.
ominous and vague.
I'll keep it in. I think.
Okay, because now I'm like,
it was
if
fun
people won't know
yelling
it's a
it.
Wrexham game, and it sounds like he invited me to his wedding, and I'm ignoring it. Like it sounds like he's like,
Well,
and you're
now
like,
I'm gonna
"He'll
edit.
break-"
Never
You literally
mind.
just said,
Never
"You'll
mind.
break his heart."
Yep. Never mind. Now I'm gonna be like, he just asked you to be his best man. That's what he did, everybody. And then Corey
Yeah, and I'm
said,
like, if I can, bro,
Corey said,
I'll
"I'll
see. Let
think
me check
about
the
it."
calendar.
all right, we got another call.
Hey guys, it's Harold from Alabama. I had a happy 420. That kind of fun. I was listening to the Patreon. Everyone go subscribe. It's amazing. We're talking about a different movie, but Poor Things. We're talking about the favorite one. Poor Things. The idea of Poor Things is a story that's kind of like Frankenstein, delivered by a very artistic director that has its own vibe. And I want to give you a different type of game of pick a classic story like Frankenstein and give it to a director to turn it into something new, like Poor Things. I understand Alistair Gray wrote Poor Things and Yorgos just adapted it, but just play along with the game. I'll hang up and listen. Bye-bye.
Harold from Alabama, getting high and listening to Koicast. It sounds.
What a vibe.
Hey, we respect all of the ways that you listen to the program. Old story, author, director. This is a fun little game.
You know what? Since this is Koicast and we lean comic book, and my very first thought is comic-y, and I don't usually like to put directors that clearly don't want anything to do with comic book movies in this position, but say they did. Like, just assume investment.
Right.
I would love to see a retelling of the Clone Saga from Ridley Scott.
What?
Like Blade Runner, weird. Is he a clone? I'm confused. Like, I love the whole like Harrison Ford might be a replicant idea.
Sure.
But you make that Ben Reilly and Peter Parker. I love the idea of like a Neo or a Spider-Man 2099 Blade Runner. Like,
All right.
I mean, Ridley Scott. Like,
Okay.
but I want to see someone with subtlety that has a really beautiful visual flair do something outside of his wheelhouse in the comic book space. So like a movie that feels like a movie
Right.
that doesn't feel like a comic film, but has the budget of a comic film from someone that usually wouldn't touch it. And I think the storyline of Clone Saga or 2099 to be fun.
That's fun. All right. Since he pulled, as an example, Poor Things, which is Frankensteinian, I'm going to go like classic Universal movie monster stories as far as old stories. I'm thinking I'd love to see what Moorhead and Benson would do with the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Ooh,
Like,
I like that.
Sort of, because out of all of the Universal monsters, that's the most sort of Lovecraftian, which is what, Aaron and Justin enjoy playing
very
in.
much their jam.
And I feel like that would be completely unique. It wouldn't be a linear, like, oh, this is just, the creature, and it comes out and it's just a creature. It wouldn't be a typical creature feature, which I think is the whole point of his thing here. It's like taking the story and turning it on its head versus just like, I want to see what this guy does with that exact property and the exact tale, I think that would be a fun one. I think some people like Moorhead and Benson, with the creature would be fun. I think there'd be a lot of their take on it would be really weird and unique.
I'd love to see a vampire story, like a classic, maybe not. Oh shit, it's so funny? I just realized he's doing this. Like I was about to pitch a movie that comes out in December.
Great.
I was like, I'd love to see a vampire story from Robert Eggers. Oh, you mean Nosferatu, you dumb fuck? That's coming out this December. But like I was gonna say, like, something original, not Nosferatu. He's literally doing that. Guys, I am tired, and here we are. I would love to see a classic like witch tale or something that's like got an element of cautionary feminist, like let women be women and stop getting in their shit or they'll kill you, from Greta Gerwig.
Okay.
Like an angry Barbie. Like Barbie is like,
well, let me
I'm like, what if maliciousness?
Well, let me add to that, since you were a little bit non-specific and his thing is about like a classic story, is like a Disney princess style, like one of the classic witches, like the Maleficent. Like, what would the Maleficent story be?
That.
If the Maleficent story, or for example, if she had done, I know it's coming out as well, but if she had done like what's the Wizard of Oz musical that everybody loves? I forget the name of it.
Wicked.
Wicked. Yeah, if like her version of a Wicked story would also be sort of like in that same space,
Yeah.
which, but fun. And yeah, I mean,
I like that.
Poor Things is fantastic. And also I could assume, Harold, a fun movie to watch when you're high. Have to take your word on it. All right, let's see. We got another one.
Yo, this is David calling from Birmingham, Alabama. Big fan of the pod. Been listening to y'all for a while now. Been a big fan of Koi since the days of comic book shopping and getting all sweaty with John and the crew on Collider. So I'm a huge fan of Mr. Miracle. It's what got me back into comics. The story, I mean, it just hit me on so many levels and kind of reminded me why I loved collecting and reading the stories. I want to know, who is your pick for a live action cast? I would love to get a Mr. Miracle New Gods movie, but I want to hear what y'all think would be the casting, and what direction would you want to see? Do you want to see the Tom King story, or do you want to see some of the older stuff? Appreciate y'all guys. Love the energy. Koi, the most hypest, I don't even think that's a word, but the most hypest man on the internet. Screw all the haters. Keep being you. We love you, man.
That was David from Alabama. We got Alabama back to back between Harold and David. Look at that, representing.
That makes me happy. I didn't know so much of the South pays attention to us Yankee folk.
Repping the Bama. Sorry about all that stuff we said about your states previously. I'm sure it's lovely.
Yeah, all that. I don't actually have any strong feelings towards Alabama, except I'm a big Yellow Wolf fan.
I lived in Pensacola for a year, which is right on the border of Florida and Alabama, right by Floribama. So I do have some opinions about Alabama, and none of them are reflected in Harold or David.
Our two callers. I love this question. Let's see. I got distracted by my Yellow Wolf drop, and now I'm thinking about Alabama in certain rap songs, which isn't helping anyone. Mr. Miracle, obviously, is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, DC arc. And what's funny is, I think my other one is Woman of Tomorrow, Supergirl, which is getting adapted. So, obviously, Mr. Miracle and Animal Man are the two that haven't been announced that I most covet.
Right.
I personally think the Tom King, Mitch Gerard's Mr. Miracle would be more
It's got to be
approachable than New Gods.
Yeah, it has to be.
Well, and that's even more than New Gods. That's like right there. Like that's filmable today. Like make This Is Us with the New Gods, and it's Mr. Miracle.
Yeah.
So the story I would do is adapting that pretty much to the page, because it's like, I mean, it's almost a storyboard. And I would cast I've said Jake Gyllenhaal for a while, and I literally gave it to him on camera because I've thought of him as like being capable of having that kind of like suicidal darkness, but also that charm in darkness. Like he's got to be funny, and you can't be laughing because you're afraid he's going to kill himself. You've got to be actually laughing and afraid he's going to kill himself. And I feel like Jake Gyllenhaal captures that, but if not him, Jake Johnson. So I got a pair of Jakes.
Well, I'm going to go. I'm going to go Johnson over Gyllenhaal. Because we've already seen Gyllenhaal
or
as a
Lloyd Bacon
superhero.
over either.
Well, obviously, I'm the fucking first pick, you bitches. But
the Three Jakes is also a movie I'd watch.
There is a movie called Two Jakes. It's not great, but it's got a great cast. Okay, anyways, my answer is what it always is somebody that I don't know, because that's my favorite casting, always. But if we're forcing me to play the game, I'm going to go Glenn Howerton.
Oh, I love that. He was my Reed Richards. I'm really bummed that it's Pedro, but
I think that we've only seen like the beginning of Glenn's career as a dramatic actor, and I think that he does have something so inherently broken in him. Do you know what I mean? Like, but in a way that I think would be fucking fantastic. Like, I think he would be a great Scott Free.
I love that, because it would also give him that like superhero role, which he said he wanted, but in a way that I don't feel like he'd be so beholden to do, a Spider-Man or a Superman. You're not getting as much flexibility.
Right.
And I feel like a Mr. Miracle, because he's more obscure and because the character is inherently more dark, Glenn Howerton would get to have his cake and eat it too. He'd get to give a performance that would surprise people and play a superhero like he wants. I like that. Glenn Howerton.
What about Big Barda?
Oh, you know what? I can't think of anyone I can even come close to but her. But I know, her age would be a thing for a franchise, but I have no problem with it. Hannah Waddingham.
She would be great. Although, yeah, I obviously
Right?
the age difference would be a rough,
I don't know if she'd want to
yeah.
play it for 10 years,
Right.
but like, well, I was more thinking like if they make it as part of the world
Right,
with
right,
Hannah Waddingham and she like hits 60, be like, I want to put on this outfit. But today, Hannah Waddingham is a one-off, absolutely. Also, I think Hannah Waddingham as like a bit of a cougar Big Barda. Like, I think a 10 years younger
Sure.
Scott Free would be kind of fun.
Sure. Yeah, I think that it's tough with Big Barda because we get so hung up on the physicality that we just go like, my brain immediately went like, oh, well, what pro wrestlers are good actresses? Like, that's where my brain went, you know? I'm like,
the size is hard
yeah.
to capture, yeah.
Like, you know,
Katie O'Brien, dude.
from
The Love Lies Bleeding.
Yes, that was I was going to think is who was with what's her face, Kristen Stewart in Love Lies Bleeding, because I know that's like, you know,
God damn.
but
And she's talented. Like, she's also a good actress. It's not just the build, but the build is important.
I also feel like, you know, visual effects exist and like you can just cast somebody who's got the energy.
But I don't want her She-Hulked either. I don't want to see her physically.
Of course, but I guess the idea being that like one, she doesn't need to be that tall because Big Barda is so tall that she could be a regular, you know, she could be however tall the actress is, and we can make her taller with visual effects, and she could get buff, whoever this person ends up being, you know? I think it's really more about the energy. It's really more about like that, like what they put forth as the character. Because I do think that there is like a very modern, it's not apathy, but there's like a defeated feminist nature to the character. Do you know what I mean? Like, I almost feel like I see it in more female comedians. Maybe this is just my brain. I always just lean towards comics. But like Abby from Broad City.
I know
not
what you're
Alana
describing.
Glazer.
Like,
I forget her last name right now. But like that kind of like, there's like, oh, come on, man. What the fuck? You know, like that's kind of the vibe. And there's an intensity and a vulnerability. And like, she's very feminine. She wants to be taken care of, but she's Big Barda as well. So like,
that's why I said Hannah Waddingham, because that arc she has is all about embracing that, and I think that's kind of her arc too.
I think my only issue with Hannah Waddingham is I think she almost has too much presence. do you know what I mean? No, it's true. Like she seems like a leader, and I don't think Big Barda. I think Big Barda needs to be confident, but she's not Wonder Woman. Do you know what I mean? Like she's not
right.
There needs to be a little bit more of a
she's
vulnerability.
Okay being not. Yeah, she's okay being part of a duo. And Hannah Waddingham seems like a leader.
Yeah, Hannah Waddingham, I think, should play Orion.
I would watch that tomorrow.
Right? That I think if we're gonna keep her in it, like, but yeah, I struggle to find out who this
Hannah Waddingham as Orion and Kathy Bates as Grandma Goodness, and I will watch whoever else is in that movie.
That's a good one. I like Kathy Bates as Grandma Goodness. Who's Darkseid? Do we have like an actual? Is it just a voice
physical
actor?
embodiment?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you don't even need a body. Like Thanos was better because he wasn't. Like if they can do Thanos,
Yeah, but they did still bring
they mocapped
his
him. Sure, yeah,
performance.
you need a human to exist. Yeah, Darkseid's so hard because like I feel like DC should take a 10-year break because of Snyder with him because of like everyone waited on this payoff, and then the payoff was like, there's that guy, and I love Clancy Brown, but like no.
Yeah. It did kind of feel like a wet fart.
Yeah, just like, and that's unfortunate. But, that, you know, we talk about Snyder plenty, and he's said plenty lately where I'm like, guy, but that's neither here nor there.
At least Rebel Moon is doing so well.
My God. You know, that new Star Wars is killing it. George Lucas better watch out.
Yeah. What other characters? Who else can we pull?
I mean, Granny Goodness is my favorite of the New Gods world.
Yeah.
Obviously, Mr. Miracle.
Yeah. A little bit of
Orion as Hannah Waddingham is fantastic.
I do like that. Yeah. You said Bates as
yeah. I
as
think
Granny
she's
Goodness?
fantastic.
There's a little bit of darkness there, and a little bit of she's always she's played the.
I think
evil.
of Misery, and I'm like, there it is.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Or Margot Martindale as Granny Goodness.
I like that better. I like that a lot better than yeah. I mean, they're definitely in the Venn diagram of the two actresses. There's definitely a big
they're
section in the
not
middle.
so different. I'm sure they've gone out against each other before. Once again, thank you all so very much. It was great to have a double Bama, and it was great to hear from so many of you. I so appreciate you guys listening. This show means the world to me, and every time I see a KoiCast shirt in the wild, my heart grows 3 sizes like the Grinch. One of these days, one of you will kill me. Thank you for being here. This has been a bit of a chaotic one. Once again, I want to thank Jake for being patient with me getting in here. Thank you guys all. If you want to call in, that is 818-794-0722. That's 818-794-0722. Or you can send a voice memo to contact@koicast.com. We'll be back in 2 weeks with more greatness. And if you're a patron, I'm really excited to dive into an Unpunchable Gift Horse pick this week. So be sure to tune in there. The patrons, every single week, we got lots of goodness coming at you. And I got sick, so I had time to watch some stuff. I finished Ripley. So I'll be watching and talking all that jazz over on the Patron Pod. Thank you as ever for listening. Thank you as ever for being here. And thank you as ever to Comic Books for existing. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Hey everyone, Jake Lloyd-Bacon here.
Along with Paul Bianchi.
And Alexandra Hoy.
Hey, we all host different shows on Dragon Wagon Radio.
We do, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
Not at all. We are here to talk about Dungeons and Dragon Wagon,
a narrative podcast series in which we venture into a mythical land for a D&D inspired role-playing game.
Alexandra and I are joined by Matt Hinksman and a very special guest of quest for each chapter of an epic saga in which we must take on the roles of half-orcs, dark elves, and more as we fight our way through a fantastical land of peril, drama, and often hilarity.
All of which is controlled by me, the Dungeon Master, and the players' chance rolls of the die.
And our show is for everyone. Even if you know nothing about D&D or role-playing games, we've got you covered.
That's right. Our game sessions are highly edited, easy to follow, sound designed from top to bottom, and completely immersive.
Yeah, our episodes sound more like a well-produced radio drama than an RPG show.
So what are you waiting for? Join the adventure on Dungeons and Dragon Wagon at dndwpod.com or wherever you find great podcasts.
It's Dragon Wagon.